This is the BYD Atto 3, and although the slightly odd name might not be familiar, the BYD brand was only launched in the UK in 2023, and so you can expect to start seeing BYD vehicles on British roads before too long. BYD incidentally stands for Build Your Dreams, and you can spec your Atto 3 with the full name badge on the back at no extra cost, although I'm not sure it'll be that popular. Name and badge aside, the Atto 3 is a fairly conventional electric SUV, available in 3 trim levels, but all of them come with the same 60.5 kilowatt-hour battery and front-wheel drive. The rear load area comes with a 2-level floor and is a decent size, while the vegan leather seats are standard across all 3 models. The interior is apparently inspired by gym equipment, although to be honest I struggle to make the connection. All 3 models get central touchscreens that can rotate from landscape to portrait mode, which I originally thought was a bit of a gimmick, but I'll come back to that. From the outside, the car looks fairly anonymous and doesn't really stand out, which is a shame for a company trying to make its name against some well-established rivals. On the road, the Atto 3 drove pretty well. BYD has developed what it calls the E-Platform 3.0, featuring its so-called blade battery design, which looks rather like a row of planks rather than a cluster of battery cells. This apparently saves room and weight, and although the ride was on the firm side, it's nowhere near as hard as the Tesla Model Y. There are 3 driving modes, Eco, Standard and Sport, and having tried all 3, I left the car in Sport for most of the test drive, which meant it was capable of a 0 to 62 time of around 7 seconds. Not that long ago, that would have put it in hot hatch territory. That said, it's not exactly an involving drive, but that's hardly surprising for an electric SUV. Prices start at around £36,500 for the active model, rising to nearly £39,000 for the range-topping design model we drove. It does have a few annoying traits, like a warning system that pipes up to tell you that you're over the speed limit or that there's a school zone ahead, and the infotainment system wasn't particularly intuitive, although that's something that drivers will quickly get used to, and I'm pretty sure there must be a way of turning off the nagging voice, although I couldn't find it. Well, I may have only had an hour or so behind the wheel of the BYD, but it's been more than enough to show that it's a competent, if slightly quirky, electric SUV. The problem that I thought the company might have is that just like the Japanese brands in the 70s and the Korean brands in the 1980s, is now the time to launch a Chinese brand in the UK. But actually, Tesla make cars in China. MG don't seem to be having problems selling their cars made in China. So maybe, just maybe, BYD have got their timing to launch in the UK just about right. While we're inside the car, that rotating touchscreen I thought was a gimmick actually works really well in navigation mode. Rotate it to portrait and you can see a lot more of the road ahead of you. Now, BYD has actually been around since 1995 and builds everything from electric airport buses to monorails, and its batteries are in something like 1 in 5 of the world's mobile phones, so the company clearly knows its stuff about batteries. It also has big plans for its car business. By the end of 2023, BYD says it'll have around 30 UK dealers, with that number growing to around 100 by 2025, while the Atto 3 will soon be joined in those showrooms by the Dolphin hatchback and the Seal saloon. Just like the Japanese and the Koreans in the 70s and 80s, the Chinese car brands are serious about their UK plans, and BYD is among the first to arrive. The BYD and Build Your Dreams badges might not be that familiar now, but just give it a year or 2.